How to learn words. Alex stared at the English textbook, a mountain of vocabulary staring back. He knew countless words, understood grammar rules perfectly, yet when it came to speaking, his tongue felt tied. The confidence he possessed in reading vanished, replaced by a wave of anxiety. This familiar struggle was a daily torment, hindering his progress despite hours of dedicated study. He often wondered how to learn words effectively for speaking. Rote memorization felt futile. Words would just evaporate from his mind moments later. Listening to native speakers was equally perplexing. Their rapid speech seemed like an indecipherable blur, making him question his listening comprehension. Frustration mounted, threatening to derail his entire English journey. Alex dreamt of fluid conversations, of effortlessly expressing his thoughts and feelings. He imagined himself engaging in lively discussions, his voice clear and articulate. But the reality was a stark contrast. A world where he constantly searched for the right words, stumbling through simple sentences. He needed a breakthrough, a completely new approach. His current English study plane for talking felt more like a crippled paper airplane, unable to take flight. It lacked direction, cohesion, and most importantly, a clear path to actual spoken fluency. The emphasis had always been on consumption, not production. He realized that passive learning wouldn't bridge the gap between knowing and doing. The desire to talk in English just one page per day seemed like an impossible feat at this stage. Even formulating a few coherent sentences felt like climbing Mount Everest. He understood the concept of consistent practice, but initiating it felt overwhelming. The sheer mental effort required to generate spoken English was exhausting him. One evening, a video popped up. How people speak English. Intrigued, Alex clicked. The speaker wasn't a perfect accent model, but someone who spoke naturally, with pauses, intonations, and common expressions. It wasn't about textbook perfection, but about effective communication. This sparked a new understanding within him, a revelation. The video emphasized that how to practice English wasn't just about repetition. It was about immersion and active engagement. It highlighted the importance of listening for meaning, not just individual words, and understanding the rhythm of the language. This shifted his perspective from passive absorption to active participation in the learning process. How to talk in English was less about flawless grammar and more about conveying a message, even imperfectly. The speaker talked about embracing mistakes as learning opportunities, not as failures. This concept was revolutionary for Alex, who had always strived for perfection, which often led to complete silence out of fear. The biggest revelation was about how to think and speak. The speaker explained that true fluency came from thinking directly in English, bypassing translation. This was the ultimate hurdle for Alex, whose mind constantly translated from his native language, slowing down his responses considerably. This was a mental shift he needed to master. The video also touched upon how to make confidence in speaking, emphasizing that confidence wasn't an inherent trait, but a skill built through consistent small wins. It wasn't about a sudden transformation, but a gradual accumulation of positive experiences. This offered a glimmer of hope, a tangible path forward for Alex. Alex decided to overhaul his how to learn words strategy. Instead of isolated lists, he focused on learning words in context, through stories, articles, and conversations. He used flashcards with example sentences, actively recalling definitions and usage. This made words stick better, connecting them to real-world scenarios. He started associating new vocabulary with images and personal experiences, making the learning process more vivid and memorable. He also dedicated time to understanding collocations, words that naturally go together, which significantly improved his naturalness. This holistic approach transformed dry memorization into an engaging discovery. To enhance Listen English, Alex began actively listening to podcasts on topics he genuinely enjoyed, even if he didn't grasp every single word. He focused on the main idea, intonation, and common phrases. He played short clips repeatedly, trying to mimic the rhythm and pronunciation, training his ears to recognize sounds. He diversified his listening sources, including documentaries, interviews, and even children's stories for simpler language. He avoided subtitles initially, pushing himself to rely solely on audio, then rewatched with subtitles to verify understanding. This dual approach sharpened both his auditory comprehension and vocabulary acquisition. His English study plan for talking became very specific. He allocated 30 minutes daily to active speaking practice, no matter how awkward it felt. This dedicated time slot ensured consistency and prevented procrastination. He viewed it as non-negotiable, a fundamental pillar of his new language learning architecture. For Talk in English just 1 page per day, Alex started journaling. Every evening, he would write a full page about his day, his thoughts, or an imaginary conversation, all in English. This forced him to actively retrieve vocabulary and construct sentences, translating his internal monologue into written form. This daily writing practice served as a bridge, transitioning his thoughts from his native language to English. It also highlighted gaps in his vocabulary and grammar, which he could then actively address. The physical act of writing helped solidify new structures and expressions in his mind. He started reading his daily journal entries aloud, practicing pronunciation and rhythm. This moved the written words into spoken form, making him more comfortable articulating his thoughts. He also recorded himself, listening back to identify areas for improvement in intonation and fluency. How to practice English became about seizing every opportunity. He talked to himself in English while doing chores, narrating his actions. He described objects around his house, mentally forming sentences. This constant internal monologue slowly but surely transformed his thought process, making it more English-centric. He joined online language exchange communities, seeking partners for casual conversations. The initial fear was immense, but he reminded himself that everyone was there to learn. These low-stakes interactions proved invaluable for building real-world conversational skills and reducing his inhibitions. Observing how people speak English became a fascination. He noticed how native speakers use filler words, natural pauses, and common expressions that weren't always in textbooks. He started consciously incorporating these elements into his own speech, making it sound more authentic and less robotic. He paid attention to intonation patterns, how sentences rise and fall, conveying different emotions and meanings. He mimicked phrases from movies and TV shows, not just the words but the entire delivery. This helped him move beyond word-for-word translation to understanding the flow of natural conversation. The most challenging but crucial step was how to think and speak directly in English. He consciously caught himself whenever he started translating and forced his mind to formulate thoughts in English first. It was painstaking at first, like trying to run with lead weights on his feet. He started labeling objects in his environment in English, even mentally, reinforcing the direct association. During mundane tasks, he'd narrate them silently in English, describing the steps. This constant, gentle push gradually rewired his brain, reducing the reliance on his native tongue. This mental shift wasn't instantaneous but a gradual process. He celebrated small victories like spontaneously thinking of an English phrase without conscious translation. These moments signaled progress, encouraging him to persist with this demanding but rewarding practice. Building how make confidence in speaking was a journey of embracing imperfection. He stopped agonizing over every grammatical error or mispronounced word. Instead, he focused on getting his message across, on the act of communication itself. This liberated him from the self-imposed pressure. He reminded himself that mistakes were stepping stones, not roadblocks. Every stumble offered an opportunity to learn and refine. He actively sought feedback, understanding that constructive criticism was a gift, helping him pinpoint areas for improvement rather than fearing judgment. Small successes fueled his confidence. Successfully ordering food in English, engaging in a brief chat with a tourist, or simply understanding a complex conversation without translation. Each was a victory. These positive experiences compounded, slowly but surely eroding his shyness. He also practiced positive self-talk, replacing negative thoughts like, "I can't do this," with, "I'm learning and improving every day." This mental reframing was powerful, shifting his mindset from self-criticism to self-encouragement, a crucial component of building speaking confidence. The final frontier was how to talk with anyone. Alex started with simple greetings and questions, expanding his comfort zone incrementally. He realized most people were patient and appreciative of someone trying to speak their language, even if imperfectly. This eased his anxiety significantly. He prepared a few open-ended questions beforehand for potential interactions, providing a starting point for conversations. This reduced the pressure of coming up with spontaneous topics and allowed him to focus on active listening and responding. His preparedness boosted his initial confidence. He learned to listen actively, showing genuine interest in what others were saying, which naturally led to more reciprocal conversation. Asking follow-up questions helped keep the dialogue flowing and demonstrated his engagement, making the interaction more comfortable for everyone involved. Alex also practiced initiating short conversations with service staff, like baristas or shop assistants. These brief, functional exchanges were low-pressure opportunities to use practical English and get comfortable with everyday interactions, slowly building up his conversational stamina. He learned that it wasn't about impressing others with perfect English, but about connecting with them. A warm smile and a genuine attempt often went further than flawless grammar. This realization was incredibly liberating, dissolving much of his previous social anxiety. The initial struggle of how to learn words now felt distant. His vocabulary was expanding organically through consistent use and exposure, rather than tedious memorization. Each new word was immediately integrated into his active vocabulary, making it functional. His listen English abilities had transformed dramatically. He could now follow intricate discussions, discern different accents, and even catch subtle nuances in jokes. The once indecipherable blur had sharpened into a clear, understandable stream of information. The English study plane for talking was no longer a theoretical concept, but a living, breathing routine. It had become ingrained in his daily life, a natural part of his personal growth journey. The discipline had paid off, yielding tangible results. The talk in English just 1 page per day habit had become second nature. His daily journal was a testament to his progress, filled with increasingly complex thoughts and expressions. It provided a visual record of his linguistic evolution, motivating him further. How to practice English had evolved from a chore into an enjoyable part of his day. He found himself seeking out opportunities to speak, eager to apply what he had learned. The fear had receded, replaced by an insatiable curiosity and enthusiasm for communication. He understood how people speak English not just theoretically but intuitively. He could mimic natural rhythms, employ appropriate expressions, and adapt his language to different social contexts. His speech sounded more native, less like a translated script. The profound shift in how to think and speak was perhaps the most impactful change. His mind no longer automatically translated. Thoughts formed directly in English, leading to spontaneous, fluid responses. This mental freedom was exhilarating, unlocking true conversational agility. How make confidence in speaking was no longer a question but a statement of fact. His confidence radiated from within, a direct result of consistent effort and numerous successful interactions. He approached new conversations with genuine enthusiasm, not apprehension. His ability to how to talk with anyone had broadened his horizons immensely. He engaged with people from diverse backgrounds, discussing a wide array of topics, feeling comfortable and articulate. The world seemed to open up, offering countless new connections. Alex often reflected on his journey, recalling the early days of frustration and self-doubt. The path hadn't been easy, but each small, consistent step had built momentum, leading him to where he was today. Perseverance was his most powerful tool. He realized that fluency wasn't about eliminating mistakes, but about embracing communication. It wasn't about having a perfect accent, but about expressing oneself clearly and confidently. The focus had shifted from perfection to connection, from grammar to genuine interaction. His experience taught him that every learner's journey is unique, but the core principles remain the same: consistent practice, active listening, and a willingness to step outside one's comfort zone. These ingredients were essential for true linguistic growth. He now understood that learning words wasn't just about memorization. It was about internalizing them, making them part of his active vocabulary for speaking. Words gained power when used in conversation, not just recognized in print. Listening to English transformed from a passive activity to an active one, a crucial component for developing natural pronunciation and intonation. It allowed him to absorb the nuances of spoken language that textbooks simply couldn't convey. His daily study plan for talking provided the structure and accountability needed to progress steadily. It turned vague aspirations into concrete actions, ensuring that every day contributed to his overall goal of fluency and confidence. The 1 page per day commitment was a testament to the power of small, consistent efforts. It showed that even seemingly insignificant daily tasks accumulate into remarkable achievements over time, fostering continuous improvement. Practicing English became an enjoyable exploration, moving beyond structured lessons into real-world applications. He learned to identify and create opportunities for speaking, turning everyday situations into valuable practice sessions. Observing how people spoke English naturally helped him understand the rhythm and flow, making his own speech sound more authentic. It was like learning the melody of a song, not just its individual notes. The shift to thinking directly in English was the ultimate key, unlocking true spontaneity and reducing hesitations. This mental reprogramming allowed ideas to flow freely, unburdened by the need for translation. His confidence in speaking English wasn't magic. It was the direct result of countless small victories and a renewed mindset. Each successful interaction layered another brick in the foundation of his self-assurance. Finally, talking with anyone became an exciting prospect, not a daunting challenge. Alex was no longer afraid to engage, ready to connect and learn from every interaction, his English journey truly flourishing.